Every year I teach a course on African politics, and I also teach a course on the Gambia, which covers Gambian history, politics, human rights. And that spring semester course is linked with the trip that I take students on to the Gambia for 3 weeks. It's important for me to bring students to the Gambia because, as I explained to them, this is their first step into Africa. Most Americans are terrified, or at least scared of Africa, and I want them to see that it is a place that is fascinating. And once they come, they all want to come back.
I definitely think this is one of the biggest adventures I have been on because I've never been to Africa. I never thought I would get the chance to go to Africa. And now that I'm here, I'm absolutely loving it, and I'm absolutely coming back. And one of my favorite things is definitely hanging out with the fellow Gambians that came on this trip and getting to know them, getting to know what they do, and learning their everyday lives and seeing the difference of what I would be doing back at home. That is definitely my favorite adventure in this, is getting to experience a way of living that I'm not used to.
When the students come here, there's a lot of fear and misconceptions about the Gambia, or preconceptions. And I think the biggest impact that this trip has on the students is that it shows them what they see in the media, the fears that they might have, that they're exaggerated.
From my experience, living in Africa isn't like the United States, where you spend most of your time in your home with your family or with the people that you live. It's much more communal, and it's you spend more time with your extended family, you spend more time with other families, and I like that part of it a lot.
I think my first impression of the Gambia is that everyone is incredibly, really welcoming. That's really nice. I feel really welcomed everywhere. People say hello on the street, and it's the smiling country. So everyone's really happy, and I'm really happy to get to stay with Mariama, which is my host sister, and her entire family is really welcoming. That's probably one of the best part of my experience.
The goal is to give them the best study abroad experience by bringing them down to the local Gambian communities and stay with them and live with them, share food with them, and also understand different cultural perspective.
As far as what it compares to being here as the class, it's miles different. There's learning about it on paper is one thing, but actually being here and experiencing the people is much different, and it's a lot more exciting and a lot more interesting.
We woke up and we went on the river ride, and we saw a huge iguana, and now we're walking and going to see the water hole. It's very dry here, but it's so beautiful.
Yeah, actually we're enjoying the view right now here in the village in Tendaba somewhere.
Yeah, in Dudumalengo, it's an abandoned village, so we're just trying to discover the history behind it.
It feels like I've stepped into a magazine.
Yeah.
Kind of
That's a good one.
it's picture perfect.
It's brilliant. It's nice. I love it. It's good to be back.
We have the fun things. We go to festivals. We were at a wedding for this past trip that we were on, where the students got to experience firsthand the cultural aspects of getting married, the dancing, the tradition. And we go to the beach, we go to the market. And so there's a balance between fun and serious, and that's important to see both sides.
I also want them to see what life is like in a culture that is so different from their own, the assumptions that people have, the things that they value versus things that we value. But overall, my aim is I want them to see that the Gambia and Africa in general is a place that is one of the most fascinating in the world.
What has really struck me is the similarities between American living and Gambian living. The women do most of the chores, and the young people are all very similar in what we like to do and what we like to listen to, listening to music, dancing, going out. So we all like really similar things, and that's been really striking because you hear a lot about the differences between countries, but you don't really hear a lot about the similarities. So that really struck me, how similar we all are.
The most valuable thing that the students do during the trip is the homestays and the immersion that they have with the Gambians. This one-on-one contact is a way for them to really get to learn about the culture, about the people, and to break down stereotypes and build up commonalities between each other.
I have not known yet any other study abroad program that immerses the students into the Gambian culture like how we do it. And part of the reason why the program is still successful is that our students are the people that we always have to thank, because they bear with all the extreme circumstances of the heat and sometimes having to deal with village life, which can be difficult, but they bear, and then they're very excited for those experiences. And at the end of the day, we realize this is part of the experience that they remember.
I feel like I was concerned about meaningless stuff. Like, I'd be concerned if my bathroom wasn't completely clean, or my food wasn't perfect. But now I realize there's a lot more important stuff in life that sometimes it's good to be a little bit uncomfortable, and you can learn a lot through that.
One of the things that means a lot to me is the Juniata students. I mean, I've interacted with students from other colleges and universities on study abroad trips in the Gambia and elsewhere, and I really believe that the Juniata students are the toughest. They come into this ready for anything that's coming at them. They rarely complain, and in fact the only complaints I get after the trip is they really thought it was going to be much more rugged and difficult than it was. And I think that's a wonderful thing about Juniata, that our students are eager for maybe not suffering, but at least they want a tough, serious experience.
I think it's a really well-designed trip, and I wish that it were more than 3 weeks. I would do it again.